with all of the people that were coming forward with the Me Too movement and people speaking up, some publicly, some not, I was seeing a couple of things. With the people that were coming forward publicly, I was seeing a lot of judgment coming toward them, a lot of disbelief, wanting to discredit all of the things that we do as human beings, right? When we don't really want to believe that something horrible can be true. So I was noticing that. I was hearing the questioning. I was hearing the judgments being passed on those people, being put on those people, and just, reflecting on what I know from my own life and from working with other people and, from other people that I know. And the truth is that silence is the norm, not the exception. It's really difficult to speak out about sexual trauma, sexual violation when it happens. There's such a huge wall to break through to speak up. And I mean, it's no wonder because of the judgments that come. So I was seeing the judgments and I was seeing the discrediting, and I wanted to address those questions that were coming up around it. Also, some people were just genuinely questioning and wanting to understand, well, why is this all of a sudden coming out? Why are people just now questioning or, just now speaking up? Why would this, could it be true? So I wanted to speak to those people. And then there were also, what I was noticing as I began to connect the dots, and a lot of this came from doing this project, but connecting the dots between the violations, the traumas, and the behaviors that follow, right? Whether you get into a pattern where you're inviting additional trauma into your life or open to trauma or repeating patterns of trauma and abuse, whether it's generational trauma, whether it's a high-risk behaviors that follow. So much of the time, we have no idea what's gone on in a person's life. What we see is the ripple effect of what's happened in their lives and in their family lives, in their personal lives. When someone has experienced trauma, then what we're seeing so often when we see someone and we say, hey, look at that little, slut over there, or that, person that can't control themselves, or their life's completely out of control. And, we start making judgments. And we're talking about this, various things that are happening in a person's life, but we don't understand the difficulties that come with trauma and how that ripples out into a person's life. And so this book answers a lot of those questions. It connects the dots on how someone could experience trauma, and they may look like they come from a perfectly normal, beautiful house and family, and you would think, oh, well, this person has got it made, and, why would they have such dysfunctional behavior, right? But trauma doesn't know those boundaries, and abuse doesn't know those boundaries. It can happen anywhere to anyone. And the ripple effect that shows up in people's lives, rather than judge it, we can learn about it. We can just open ourselves to a deeper understanding of what people go through and how it affects the life moving forward. Trauma in particular, it sparks a physiological response in the body and it fragments memories. It shuts down the logical brain. It's, you go into survival mode. And then it stores memories so that when things come up that trigger those memories, you can have go right back into that survival mode, and all of this patterning can come right back out. So, I wanted people to be able to understand that. For people who have experienced trauma, to have a better understanding of themselves so that they can come to a place of self-understanding, self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-love, and open themselves to a place of love, acceptance, and healing. Begin to heal, begin to transform, begin to bring their lives into that alignment with what they really want, for their hearts and for their spirits, and for just their regular daily life. So I wanted them to have that level of self-understanding and self-compassion and to know they're not alone. I also want for people who have not experienced trauma and are looking on other people, I want them to have that understanding also. And, so that we can, as a culture, as a world, become more understanding of each other, more in acceptance of each other and compassionate with each other, and to just open our hearts and, reach out. So the hope with this book and this project is that we'll all come to a greater understanding and greater love for each other. So Kathy says, "Did you write the book, Mestra?" So I wrote parts of it and edited a lot of it. These are transcribed interviews with each of these 12 authors, these 12 speakers. They're all experts in healing sexual trauma. They were selected by me, because each one of them has experienced sexual trauma, either in their childhood or their adult lives. And there's a variety of different stories available through this. So there's the interviews, each one of these was interviewed. The interviews were transcribed and then edited. Each one of the authors, in addition to their interview, they added pearls of wisdom. Joan Brooks added a section on healing shame. Leisha Berry shared a section from her Soul Compost book. And there's a lot in this book that wasn't in the actual interviews. So, in addition to that, I wrote the introduction and conclusion. So in the back, there's it's quite a lengthy conclusion because I learned a lot from doing this. So everything that I learned in doing this project, not everything, because that's a whole book in itself and it's going to take a lot longer than this, but so there's reflections from the host in the back. I asked a series of questions in doing these interviews. I asked a series of questions to each one of the contributors, and I went through and then answered that series of questions myself, based on what I had learned from doing the interviews and from facilitating the Facebook group. I learned an enormous amount from this, enormous. And I really want to help other people to understand this as well, to really connect the dots between trauma and abuse and patterns in life, behavioral patterns, and our self-esteem issues, and so many of the various things that we go through. I want people to understand that for themselves so that they can have greater self-acceptance, self-love, self-compassion, and open themselves to a place of healing. And I want other people to understand it when they're trying to help others who are going through their own struggles. Every person that I've given a copy of this paperback book to so far has just held it in their hands and said, "Oh my gosh, wow." The energy in this is really strong. It is a really powerful book. It's really, it's healing the past. It's helping with with where we are in the present. And it's also, it's looking at, on the mass consciousness level, what is needed for us to have a shift in the culture and to move out of this culture that we've been in that has allowed sexual abuse and assault to exist for so long, and then move into a culture of mutual understanding and love and respect. So that is also addressed in this book.